how are you guys doing today?
Okay, I'm good.
Anita, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Doing good. How was your day today?
Not busy at all. I just started my leave today, and the only thing I'm doing is rest. How about you?
I saw you walking in red, and I was like, oof, must have been a nice
Right?
day for her. Man was good. Man was good. I was just thinking about this the whole day. And yeah, so recently I was watching the Youth Connect, and I saw the president interacting with the youth and stuff, and I saw the girl that how do you say that, she lives with banana umuga.
After umuga.
And she was blind. She was so smart, and the way she put her words together, she was very articulated. She was very well put together, and it had me thinking. It had me thinking about inclusion, and human rights as well. And then of course we had a great time together yesterday, and I thought, you know what, if it was nice, let's do it twice. So I invite you over, I'll do this again. And so I did a research on it actually, and that's where I found us, more of what we do and more what we call upon ourselves, and what we are put through as well, from different backgrounds. And it was interesting to see that the main component of exclusion was being incapabilities, and that was crazy for me to see those findings. But before we go deep into that, I'd like to bring in the psychological side of it, especially on that exclusion, because sometimes we put ourselves through it when we think we are incapable. And then there was also other components, such as not having the right education, not having the right health. And funny enough, it took me back to mental health, and I was interested, and I was like, I'm in for a ride. But if we talk about now people who don't lack the education, who don't lack some of those, but who feel incapable because of the mental state they might be in, and who I felt like the majority of us are suffering from that, Can you teach us a thing or two on that, especially on the psychological side of it?
Absolutely. So, core beliefs, the center of emotions, thoughts, and behaviors are core beliefs. And core beliefs in psychology actually decide which way neural pathways go. So if neural pathways are negative, right, then the brain can only believe what it's fed. So if your core belief is that you're not enough, right, or that you're not sufficient, or that you don't fit in, then your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors all relate to that central core belief. So much so that there are certain mental disorders, whereas patients believe that certain parts of their bodies should not be there. And they go their whole lives until they feel better once they remove it. The brain can restructure neural connections and neural pathways in the brain, and even soften or harden areas of the brain based on our thinking. Recent studies have shown that genetics have a lot to do with the structure of our brains. But we also know that trauma is transferred genetically as well. So my mother's thoughts and the way that she treated me can also affect my thoughts and the way that I treat myself.
That's a little bit unfair, though.
It is, but science is science. But it really helps us also to explain that the positive things that we put into ourselves can also be gifts for our children and for generations to come. And the work that we do can benefit generations. So it's not so much to get caught up in the trauma or the intergenerational trauma or the negative effects of thinking, But the positive, if we do 85% positive, and that's transferred genetically, that's also an amazing thing too.
Yeah. But you see, the thing is with me is that I believe there's a ladder, to these problems, and there's depth as well to that. But what where I focus on especially is when, for example, that's too deep. That's going, deep. But now there's these surface issues that we actually put ourselves in that we can resolve quicker with some efforts, and that's what we see on a daily basis, and that's why I want to focus and say, this is harming us because if I can give you an example and bring you in as well, hari nk'ibintu cyangwa se nk'abantu ushobora kubona tukagira ikintu cyo kwitinya, ukumva ngo jewe ndi umusope, urumva ko ndi umusope ntagomba kujya muri ya building nshyashya yubatswe, cyangwa se baravuga ibintu by'indimi z'ahandi, reka mbatinye ningumire hano, nigunge, sinshake kubegera ngo tu exchanging. Hari nk'abantu ubona cyane cyane nk'abatagize nk'amahirwe cyane yo kwiga ngo bakuze ubwonko, ugasanga tuvuge nk'iki building nka convention center ifunguye, bakagenda bagera hagati bakagira ubwoba, bakitinya, ntawe bakujije kwinjira, ari ugasanga nditinye sinshaka kuharenga, security nawe yabonye utari sure, ucumba udashaka kwinjira nawe yahita abona ko nyine uyu niwe muntu wanjye, ahita kuvana mu nzira nyine. So icyo kintu cyo kwitinya nacyo kiradutandukanya, kidukura mu bandi kandi hatabayeho yenda yandi adutandukanya, atwima ubushobozi runaka cyangwa se andi makimbirane yandi batwirukana, abo ngabo babivuga iki cyangwa se?
Yeah, that's so right. So there's the exclusion that the society does towards probably a group of people, but also self-exclusion is real. But I think, self-exclusion is the worst, as you said. But I don't think it's based on nothing. I think there's a valid reason where someone feels that they don't belong in a certain group of people. Ntabwo ntekereza ko ari ibintu byizana gusa all of a sudden ukumva utemerewe cyangwa se utakwiye kuri kumwe n'abandi. Haba hari another valid reason ikomoka kuri iyo exclusion na society yose isanzwe ikora, ku buryo nawe ikugeraho ukahita ubwonko bwawe cyangwa se umubiri wawe ubloka ukavuga ati no, biriya ntabwo ari ibyawe.
Harimo ubukene, harimo kutagira amahirwe yo kwiga,
hari the information you receive. Niba nicaye ndangeza 25 years old ntarumva ikintu na kimwe about something, nigute nzacyumva at 30 nkumva ari ibintu bisanzwe wenda. Hari how much information you get, the type of, niba the only information you got about certain things biri negative, bikwereka ko wowe utabelong in that place, of course you will not feel welcome. Njewe at AEGIS we work at the Kigali Genocide Memorial, and we have different programs. We have for educators, parents, even the young people, and then the programs take place at the memorial. We have like a community peace center that is located at the memorial. So whenever we invite like teachers, and then we tell them this is going to take place at the Kigali Genocide Memorial, you can't tell them at the Kigali Community Peace Center because they've never heard of that. Probably they've never even heard of AEGIS Trust. You will have to say the Kigali Genocide Memorial. You know how many of them actually say, is it allowed? Do you really think there is no problem coming there? We're not survivors or something like that. We're like, no, it's okay, you should come.
It's for everybody.
It's for everyone. And everyone then know that it's for everyone. But then there is this self-exclusion that your brain, your body will practice. And what I was telling you is not, it doesn't come from nowhere. It has to come from It comes from something. It comes from events. It comes from a past. It comes from things that happened to you, or things that you've heard of or you went through, that tells you that you don't belong there, or it's hard. It's gonna be hard for you to face this type of
but
thing.
let's talk about what's happening right now. Sometimes we as entrepreneurs, we like picking each other's minds and brains and say, especially when we see the president traveling and going to have this bilateral understanding with other African nations, and then we open up the borders for each other, and then we ask ourselves, what can we take there, and sometimes you get to see us, or even other people who didn't get the privilege to travel already. Traveling being the first barrier, thinking, how am I going to get there? How, before knowing what am I going to take there, what am I going to go sell there? But then again, we see other fellow Africans coming to Rwanda, and then we stay away from them, because there is also some complex, there's friends of mine who go, I was speaking to a friend of mine who goes to ALU, and he was talking about, we brought this up, and he was talking about how abanyeshuri, very local, they don't want to interact with foreign,
it's a thing,
students.
Here in Rwanda, it's very,
and
we're biratugora cyane to open up to other communities.
And he was telling me that they will look at him because he could look, he's got the African, look. You wouldn't pinpoint and say, hey, you're Rwandan. So they'll walk up to him and say, oh, Rwanda. Oh, nice. But what I'm trying to say is that through them, we can learn about their society. We can know what's missing in the country. We can know what to take there without having to go there. And beyond that, we could also have friendships and say, now when I come to your place, I don't have to worry about transport and accommodation. We bros, we help each other here. When I come there, you receive me. But also just being friends with them on a daily basis. You even if he doesn't want to tell you what's needed in his country, let's say he's selfish enough, you will see it. You will see it because you might be chilling with him. You go to the supermarket or whatever, you see he might get wowed by something or buy more of it, and you ask him, why are you doing this? And he say, probably because cheese in my country is way too expensive. Here it's 4,000 or 5,000. How's that? And then you get the idea. You know what? Maybe I could sell a cheese there. So I think we should be interacting with him, and not just running away from.
It just made me think of something. I just asked myself if I could ever end up with a man who is not Rwandan.
Love is blind.
I'll give people from other countries, other societies, very low chances to approach me. And I think that's limiting myself, because I could probably find a very matching and charming personality that I like.
And you're only thinking
despite
love. You could learn something else besides
I can
that.
love everyone. But then, because of the exclusion that is in my mind, I will see someone from Ghana, and he'll probably try to connect, and I'll like, no, I don't actually even speak English. Like there's no way we can communicate, and I think that's a very bad thing, by the way, because I'm limiting myself. I think it's also out of, I don't know if I'll say ignorance or mindsets. I don't know, but we really need to make a step in embracing diversity and looking into people towards their values, personalities, despite of their cultures and probably labels and where they come from, but instead look for their values, personalities, their character. I don't know. Probably that can help.
Yeah. Okay. What is your take on that, especially on And yeah, especially also being a visitor, like, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not a visitor, I'm random. But yeah, I think that America is a great country because of its policy of allowing many cultures of people to come inside, right? And from that dynamic, we have so many cultures within America, so many different educational systems, so many cultures and customs that are not only in one pocket or group of people but that we all get to participate in. That's one thing I love about being an American. What I would like to see across the diaspora, and one of the greats, Muammar Gaddafi, had that in mind of uniting all of Africa under a single currency. I think that there is a lot of mentality around exclusion because of colonialization. I think that that was one of the major factors that we separate and segregate so much. This system of these people are scary because they're not the same language. These people are scary because they're not the same skin. But psychologically, mentally, biologically, we are all human beings. And some human beings are good and others are not. Yeah. But we don't have to differentiate people based on their location of where they came from, right? There is a thing in psychology that says a single thought is a limited, restricting thought. So if we're only listening to internal thoughts and not listening or hearing external thoughts or components that may bridge the gap and help our own countries economically, but socially as well. So I think that this is just something that we've struggled with a long time, and it's no longer helping us to thrive.
You know, in 2008-9, I was in South Africa, and I lived through the xenophobic attacks. I think I mentioned this also that time. And like I said, I was accepted. It wasn't obvious that I was, you know, a foreigner. I was Rwandan, and I also didn't feel like it. So I would forget and just be on my way out. And sometimes I would end up in these strikes, you know, roadblocks and stuff, and they'll even look at you and, you know, no suspicion. But looking at the scenes and just looking at what was happening, if you strip off the name, it looked similar to what happened here, you know. And then also, if you look where it came from, you know, I mean, it's prejudice. And you know, if you analyze how it came about, it was locals who I would say didn't maximize or see on the opportunities that were there at hand. And the foreigners who were coming from a disadvantaged background, coming there and striving because they deserved it. They worked twice, thrice harder than they did. Yeah. And then they actually showed them what was possible. Oh, you could achieve this, you could get this. But they saw it in a negative perspective and they said, oh, you're thriving on our soil. And then there was that need and that sense of, you know, of revenge and then that also had me thinking, because you from AEGIS, you know more about the genocide than we did. It did not happen overnight. It was 35 years of planning, you know? So, and then when you say, what I understand when you say never again, I don't understand never again just to the genocide. I understand you saying never again to all sorts of violence. You know,
even
anything.
The minor acts of violence.
Right?
Yeah, could lead to.
Yeah, that's what I understand. Yeah. And now one lesson that I've taken from that, I mean, history is the best teacher. When I look back and analyze what happened in our own country, if it took 35 years to plan that, it means it has taught me today to analyze and predict on our present of things that could not be going well, and predict and say, where could this be taking us? And try and take it from here and say, okay, we need to stop this, we need to change this, we need to do this, because it might look okay today, it might look like, you know, but And now me coming from that experience in Africa, you know, development is natural. You know, we don't have a say on that. Everything develops. You cut your hair, tomorrow you grow again. You build a house, a chantier, ntuyirangize ibyatsi bikakumerana muri sima. Ukarya imbuto, wajugunya ikibuto hariya, igiti kigakura. So I think we can only detect the pace, you know, but if any other country around us is developing as well, it's just on a different pace as we go on. So what's happening here is amazing, and we need to, you know, keep pushing it as much as we can. And opening up the border is part of that development. It's an amazing thing if it is used for what it was meant for. You know, if it's not open only for people coming in, it's open for people going out as well. You know? Even though it might not go out as much as people are coming in because of, you know, many different reasons. Because this is it's safe. It's very nice. You know, something crazy in South Africa. I'm not lying, so don't take offense. There were streets where you will find a sign that says hijacking hotspot, put up by the government. They're telling you, aha hantu nuhatinda nureba nabi baragutera kaci. Ibaze Kabera yashyizeho icyapa hano kuri golfe cyangwa Nyakabanda ngo hano hace wihuta nutahaca bakagutera kaci birakureba. Imagine that. So now imagine somebody who lives around that area, who's got the sign that says hijacking hotspot. Who comes to Rwanda? It's paradise. It's paradise. So he's gonna thrive. He's gonna work twice, thrice harder than I do, you know, to thrive and say, hey, this might not, you know, I might not stay here forever. I might need to go back home. But the time I'm here, let me maximize on this. And you know, comfort is the thief of prosperity. You know? And in Rwanda, we're living in a safe box. You know. And it's very easy to get carried away by this comfort and just not make the most of ourselves. And I really would never ever wish or actually let something like that happen here. When I watched it, when I saw it, you know, and then lay back and say, you know, I'm not gonna do anything about it. So as I'm trying to share my brothers and say, let's stand up, make the most of ourselves, not exclude ourselves, actually, you know, include, learn. You know, if we wanna, if these guys are coming here to work with us, they've got a lot to teach us. Let's not stay away from them. Let's actually learn from their work ethic. You know, how they do things, how much effort they put in their things. You know, and then learn and then work side by side. If in 5-10 years we all prosperous, I don't see any room for hatred or revenge or whatever. But we have to be careful with that. We can't sit back and just wait for the government to do everything and say, oh, I deserve this, I didn't get this, I didn't do this.
Well, I think that there's a component that's missing here as a part of the conversation. People don't choose to live in poverty. People don't choose to keep their mind impoverished. People don't choose not to seek education. There are components that affect them. And it's not only external to themselves, but it's internal to themselves as well. We know from studies across the globe that people that grow up in poverty and in impoverished nations and generations of families that have never attained higher levels of education, and that becomes a family norm, that's difficult to break that cycle. It's also difficult to break cycles where, you know, the thinking is, this is where I want to be. As long as I get 2,000 Rwandan francs a day, I'm comfortable and I can take care of my family, and this is enough. There are also cultural components due to exclusion that also cause people to become an island in their own minds, right? Where they believe that there's nothing else because they've seen nothing else. So psychologically, we know that poverty does the most damage. Not only the environmental factors as a part of therapy, but there are many types of experiments that are done. One such experiment is, you can see in the circus, they take an elephant when it is a small elephant from its mother, and they train this elephant mentally and keep him captured, right, in captivity for its entire life. And by the time that the elephant is big and he could stomp his way out of the tent, they only have him attached via a thread. So it's not always about how big things are or how much strength the elephant has. The mental components of trauma affect generations and generations. So it's easy for us that are in certain positions or have certain financial goals that we've attained, or educational goals that we have attained, to look back and say, why not you? But there has been several studies that really show that no matter how much money people receive, if the mind is not changed, they will use that money for their detriment and not for their good.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that comes back and challenges the statement of everything is mental. If we focus and work, especially on reworking on our cognitive development, can we get to a point where we can rewire this thing?
Absolutely.
And especially that we've got now examples. We've got great men. We've got pioneers now in Rwanda. We never had that. We always thought things come from elsewhere. We never export greatness. We never phones come from, everything comes from there. We never. Now we have these role models who are showing us that we could have pioneers right here and also export what we pioneer. So those examples can also help us, show us that there's proof in results when you work on your cognitive development.
Yeah, I since I've been in Rwanda around 2 years, I've learned about these yearly trips people take to the Genocide Memorial, and during that time of remembering. And I think that it's significant not just to allot a particular time in the year for remembrance and memorial. I think that it should be allotted in the day-to-day, and for people to understand the components of healing. Yes, this was a horrific trauma that was experienced by the people on their own soil, in their own homes. But healing can also come on your own soil, in your own homes. So while it is a source of healing to atone from one person to another, having information and education countrywide that gives tools and helps people receive free health care or very low-cost health care in mental health to help them when they're experiencing symptoms of PTSD, when they're experiencing symptoms of anxiety or depression, when they can't get up and go to work because they don't feel well, but they can't put their finger on it.
Yeah.
But
we're facing these things, and this is our main challenge. So what we've been working on, that awareness as well, to know that, because there's also a negative connotation to mental health, and how to go about it and how to get the help. We might even do that, but then are we gonna have them using that service? So I think we still have a long way. I mean, we've been having these challenges where we need to share our own stories and also to kind of help and have them understand that this can be worked on, and this can be successful. But it's also still another long process that we hopeful. And
like today I was talking to my friends and saying, I met a very good therapist, and I said, but really, can I really afford therapy? Like, just as you said, like, I can, but how about the rest of the community? And it made me think of, exclusion doesn't happen in this world of development only, where of international development. It also happens at home, in our families. And then that's where it gets even very dangerous, where your very own family will not be able to include you as much as you really need to be included. Probably you're different in type of way. You probably have certain disabilities, or you are struggling at that moment, or you are very young, according to them, or you're very old. You know, we have families where our parents or our grandparents feel that they are lonely, yet they have families. You know, but how do we go about that? If, like, how does that even affect our mental health? Being excluded by the people whom you belong to, whom you love the most, who should be your first community.
There is, I read a piece of research, and I don't know how true it is, but it said that Adolf Hitler's mind was changed in 2 weeks about the nature of a person, in speaking about the Jews, versus his own nature in 2 weeks. I don't know if that story is true or not, but I think in general, what we understand is that it didn't take a long time for that to build up, right? And it built up because of things that he was taught in his own family, right? And so things can be difficult when particular family members are against components that we know will strengthen families. It's difficult for individuals to step outside of cultural norms. But I want to say this, it takes one. We know Che Guevara, right? We know him as a revolutionary. We know Angela Davis in the US. We know those that it just took one, Martin Luther King's. We know all of the different activists that have said no more, no way. And even in our own families, we can be the change that the family needs to see. And many students...
What does that take? Because that's what interests me. What does that take?
So I spoke at Green Hills. We did a forum at Green Hills with all of the students from 9th to 12th grade. And we just wanted to have a conversation with the youth and understanding what are some of the things that they're dealing with and that they're facing. What are the dilemmas, right? And many of them brought up the significance of they needed help, mental health help. And so Green Hills came up with a program where they have peer counselors, where they can go and speak with peer counselors. But they all, out of 540 students, they all talked about how their parents would not allow them to go to therapy or to seek out a therapist. And one of the things that we said and we offered was a free crisis line. The Ministry of Health has a crisis line that it only operates during the time of remembrance. However, if other NGOs and companies got together, and we know culturally that there are components that are feared as a part of mental health, then we can offer free crisis lines or free talk centers where people can call in for free and just speak to someone about dealing with crisis situations or have crisis interventions. So until the people are educated, right? Until everyone is educated, things won't change. But it doesn't mean other methods, there's not a back door. And sometimes the back door is doing things in secret and getting help until it's able to come out in the forefront.
I told you guys yesterday that I think I'm damaged goods because
Yeah.
because also when things are not on par when it comes, especially my finances and stuff, I also exclude myself.
Yeah.
There's places where you feel, no, not today, I don't belong there today, I shouldn't be going there, and there's a lot more like me, and though I'm trying, and especially when I talk about these things, I'm also, it seems to be therapy for myself as well, but we need to reach more people, and we need to, because it does also when you have a limit to resources, as excuse me, as men, but it's becoming so for women as well. But it can also be limiting, So I'm taking this from her, which was saying that some people also exclude themselves. Yes, it's true, and I do that. I have the tendency of doing that.
Yeah.
But there are also health centers So the Ministry of Health has set up health centers. In every health center in Rwanda, there are psychologists, psychiatrists, or therapists. So anyone can go to their nearest health center, and though it's not enough, 11 is small for an entire country.
I'm thinking I'm broke now. I'm not going to go to that party because I'm broke. I'm calling that line, how are they going to help me?
That there's the help we offer to probably the victims of exclusion, but also how do we build a culture of including everyone, of making people feel that they belong
and the
there.
socio-economic, transition.
Yeah, but how do we build that culture? How do we make people feel that as much as you want to be welcomed, you should also welcome the other person? Because I was saying it, even families, even our own families, can struggle to include us as much as we need. Or
because of background, or
probably not me.
Finances, or
because of just there's no reason, there is no valid reason to keep you out. It's just.
Sometimes
it's just you're different in some type of way.
Yeah.
You don't
want to go to university.
You don't want to go to university, let's say, or you probably don't. You probably don't want to follow the religion your family chose to follow, and then you from that you're labeled as incapable, ikirara, nta kintu umaze, and every other thing. However, it's not true. And then there are also people we cannot ignore. Like there are some people who are also born with some disabilities, or who develop. Like everyone can. And then there are also, there are families in Rwanda or in the world where they hide, like they make people not see that child. They hide that child from the community because they, as much as they fear the response of the society, they will not let their child go out.
Yeah. So this is where I wanted to link inclusion with human rights, because then again, that human rights card comes back and says, you know what, everybody, disabled people, like you're saying, they're all subject of, human rights. And especially in a country like ours that's growing, economically, we need to include anybody who can contribute whatever they can, we
need everyone.
Everyone. There's no way you can get to where you want to get without including.
We need everyone.
Yeah, segregation should be it will make us thrive.
Yeah.
All these groups we're talking about, that we call a bit different. They are smart and specialized in different disciplines.
They're capable.
They're capable.
They're determined.
And we need those capabilities to contribute, to our economy. So that's one thing. Also on the human rights, and I focus on Benita because this is mostly what happens here, and I think subconsciously. I've seen in my family with the older generation where we suffer with, or we struggle. We don't suffer. We struggle with. Differentiating or knowing our limits when it comes to human rights,
Yeah.
aba oncle n'abasaza ba kera, umwana w'umuadolescente yacagaho amaze kujya 15-16 amaze wamubiri utangiye kwidevelopa, umupapa cyangwa se akamukubita ku kibuno ati esha uri kurya ibiki. Today that doesn't work, huh? That's called what? Sexual harassment.
Yeah, that's sexual
harassment. Bakoraga ku bana ngo
I think till today abantu barabikora by the way.
Ariko none ari ibikora utazi ko bitakiri twateye imbere, ntago tukira aho ngaho ugasanga urabizize wabizira ati kugira ntago nari mbizi. So also we need to also bring that in. And this is something I think amazing that I learned in high school in my ELO subject, life orientation. It was an amazing subject. I've got a whole lot of stories on that, but that's for another day. But one of the best thing I ever learned there that I cherish even today is how to live with others in a society and knowing my limit when it comes to my rights. And knowing that my rights will end probably somewhere here where yours will begin. You know, I don't get too and then some of our brothers, I think, brothers and sisters, twasobanukirwa neza ko ufite uburenganzira bwawe nawe nkagira ubwanjye ariko se ubwawe burangirira he ubwanjye butangirira he. So kandi icyo gihe rero utabyitondeye ukabirangaramo uvugana na ribu.
Yeah.